What is up, though, Lions fans? It's your boy, Motor City Don P. We are back here once again, and you already know what time it is. It is the time of the day where we do the thing, where we do the thing, where we do the thing. When you see me in front of your TV, one thing's for certain, three things for sure. Number one, the Motor City Cats are indeed back at it. Number two, we came to give you stats, not none of that static. And number three, want to make sure you keep your Lions news pragmatic. And you may be asking yourself, how, Don? How, Mr. P, does one keep their Lions news pragmatic? Well, it's very simple. I'm glad you asked, and I will tell you right damn now. Basically, you must smash the like button, you must subscribe, and you must share with your peoples. And once you've done that, you've indeed kept your Lions news pragmatic. And once you've kept your Lions news pragmatic, you should also look at the fact that sharing is indeed caring. So when you share this stream with your mothers, your brothers, your fathers, your sisters, your cousins, your uncles, your nieces, your nephews, your friends, you name it, you have indeed cared about these people. Let's go ahead and get into what we got to get into today, because there is some hope that you may be able to see a player, or maybe even two, that has been ruled out for not just for this season, but also for next season, because the injury happened so far into the season. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about the David Montgomery situation, because I have some thoughts. Why can't we get this man the football? What is the issue? What is the reason? And former offensive coordinator here, that is thoughts that I have from the lens, from that perspective. What up, though, Mr. Morale 313? So let's go ahead and get into it. We've got this article. I've got stuff popped up on my other screen. Hold on, it's very annoying. Let's see here. This Copilot window just won't close. Okay, there we go. Got it to close. All right. What up, though, Belinda Brown? All right, let's look at this article. We'll put it in split screen so I can see what you guys are saying. All righty, let's switch these views, because I like to look at me on the left side and look at the article on the right side. All right, here we go. What up, though, Mr. Detroit City? Appreciate you. Will do. All right. So it says the new surgery that could potentially have Brian Branch back with the Lions for week 1 of the 2026 season. That would be freaking amazing, right? If that would happen, that would be freaking amazing. All right. Now, this is from A to Z Sports, so it is Mike Payton. So you got to take it with a grain of salt. Just a little grain of salt, a little bit of grain of salt. Just a little bit. Okay. All right. Says before we jump in fully, it's crucial to note a few things. Every player is different, every tear is different, and every treatment plan is different. We don't know exactly where Detroit Lions safety Brian Branch tore his Achilles tendon or how bad the tear is. We're not doctors, and we're not advocating that this is the best way for Brian Branch to go. Now, it is also important to note for you guys that he already had the surgery. So I'm not sure if it's this surgery that he had, or if this is like a new groundbreaking surgery that he did not get, and he will still be out for, the 9 months or whatever it is, this the recovery time. All right. So we're not advocating that this is the best way for Brian Branch to go. We're also not saying he would have even been able to get this particular surgery. Okay, so he didn't get it. Or that if he did, he would be able to recover as fast as you want him to. There is nothing guaranteed about any of this, but it is a potential option. And if this is the way Branch went, it could have big results. Okay, so we don't know which way he went. That's pretty much what we're doing. All right. So back in July of 2021, then Los Angeles Rams running back Cam Akers tore his Achilles tendon at a training camp practice and then shocked everyone when he played in January of that same season. In 5.5 months, he was back and ready to play after an injury that's supposed to be an 8 to 12 month recovery. So what happened? Lions safety Brian Branch could potentially be ready for a return in week 1 if he qualified for and did the speed bridge surgery. Last Tuesday, we talked with the Bone and Joint Institute of Tennessee's Director of Rehabilitation Services and former NFL offensive lineman Dave Kempfert about injuries, and he brought up the speed bridge procedure. There's often an option for what is called the speed bridge surgery for Achilles ruptures. This is potentially why we have seen NFL players such as Cam Akers return to sport faster. Again, I am not familiar at all with the specifics of Brian Branch's injury and would not advocate for a particular course of treatment, as that decision is left to his physician. However, the speed bridge surgery is another example of an advancing medical technique used to return athletes back to the field faster. Okay. The decision for any surgery depends on so many things: the severity of the injury, the location of the injury, the familiarity of a physician with the procedure, the position of the athlete, the timeline for tissue healing and return to play, etc. For most people, it's going to be a year or more to return to full activity after an Achilles repair. And that depends not only on the surgical technique, but on the quality of the rehab, the effort of the patient, and the physical makeup of the patient as well. With this surgery, we have seen people return as early as 5 to 7 months to elite level competition sport or competitive sport. That's a big deal and it's significant if Branch was able to do it and did it. So how does it work? Kempfert explained the process of the surgery to us as well, and it's pretty cool what you can do with the human body these days. From my understanding of the surgery, and I am not a surgeon, it is basically a knotless procedure that uses strong suture tape and anchors for secure tensioning of the repair and allows for a good footprint to reattach the Achilles. The surgical technique depends upon the area of the tear. If the tear occurs near the tendon's end, they can increase stability with increased compression being achieved against the bone. With a mid-substance or mid-range kind of tear, a jig is used with what does it say? A jig is used, that goes alongside the torn tendon, allowing the surgeon to pass several horizontal sutures and fiber tape through the Achilles, drawn down to the bottom part of the tear, create an anchor, and pull the tendon together for a very strong repair without tying any knots, which can be a potential weak point. The advantages are a stronger repair and a less invasive surgery that can allow for an earlier start of rehabilitation and weight bearing faster than with traditional Achilles tendons repair. Okay, so obviously, comparing this technique to the old techniques, this technique is going to be a lot faster. I don't know if it's going to be a lot more reliable. It still sounds like, it's not in the early stages, because if we heard about Cam Akers doing this in 2021, they've had probably tens of thousands of hours of research on this, and 60 to 100 thousands of man hour trying to do this club. So that's what that is. All right. What's up, Tusack Jay? Did you really? um, at this point, we don't know what Branch's timeline is. We know he had the surgery earlier last week. If he had this procedure done, if he was able to, it's likely to help him return quicker. If he can do the same thing Cam Akers did and return in about 5.5 months, that would put him on the field at training camp in August. That would be huge for the Lions. We'll see what happens down the road. All right. No, that's not it. That is not it. But hey, thanks for trying. All right, let's detach this. Shouldn't this be easier to do? Da, 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 da. I swear this was easier last time I did this. Okay, well, we'll just do it this way then. Just push that all the way back over there. All right. Donovan Peoples Jones is funny. That is funny. Dominic Wilkins. I don't know who that is. I know who Dominique Wilkins is. All right. So what do y'all think? Do y'all think that Brian Branch did this surgery or not? I don't see why you wouldn't. But then again, I obviously do not know the particulars of the surgery and what you have to do, how it has to be torn, blah, 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 blah. I'm sure it has to be torn a certain way, or maybe not torn too much, or I don't know. I don't know what the particulars are, what qualifies a person for this surgery or not, because you would just assume that everyone would do this surgery, right? Oh, I'm working out over, throughout the off season. I'm doing this, I'm doing that, I'm doing the third thing. Why wouldn't I do a surgery that gets me back on the field by week one? So I'm not sure exactly, but Don Corleone is not correct. No, you will never guess, guys. You won't guess. That's the thing. That is something that will not happen. You will not guess. All right. Let me go ahead and grab a drink, and I shall return, and then we'll talk about Monty. 1 second. I didn't realize I was gonna have to. But you know, we get it done in a pinch. All right, now Landon Donovan, Donatello, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Actually, Donatello was my favorite Ninja Turtle because we share part of a name. No, no, not Adonis. After seeing several videos on Monty this week, I'm glad I'm not the only one who recognized that we weren't using him when we should have been. All right, let's get into the Monty thing. Okay, that's what we're here to talk about right now. Dan Campbell made a departure this week from what he usually talks about. Dan Campbell usually says, "Oh, I want to get Monty the ball more. We need to get him the ball more." Especially when Johnny Morton was the offensive coordinator. And because Johnny Morton was the offensive coordinator and he didn't have autonomy, but as the head coach, you don't really mess with the groupings and the player personnel that your offensive coordinator is employing. And the reason is obviously because the offensive coordinator has to be given a certain amount of autonomy so that he can call plays effectively for what he believes is the flow of the game. Well, we soon very quickly understood that Johnny Mo did not have any concept of what the flow of the game is or should be. And this is why he had his play calling duty stripped away. So then, of course, the week that he strips Johnny Morton of his play calling duties, he says this thing where, yes, getting Monty the ball is something he would like to do. He would like to see that happen. So since he has been underutilized this year, shout out Detroit Syndicate, Detroit Lions Syndicate, or Derek. He did the math. Monty has about 50 less carries at this point in the season than he did last season. Now, obviously, week 14, or was it week 14 when we played the Bills? That's when we lost him for the rest of the regular season. So 14 games this season, maybe 13 last season, but 50 less carries. Dan Campbell this week, just today, said he knows it's hard. He said Monty's a professional. He said, he knows it's tough and he's a good player. So everybody who's a good player wants to be able to contribute to their team to get wins. And again, as I said, I'm glad he didn't go with I want Monty to get the ball more and we just got to get him the ball more, because you're now in control of that, Dan Campbell. So I'm glad he didn't go that route. The next thing he said was some suggestions as to how you could get the ball to David Montgomery. One thing that he said is this: we could use more 2-back, 3 wide receiver sets. That could help. All right. Here's the thing. And I'm going to get to your comments. 2 backs, 3 receivers is how many people? It's 5 people, right? How many linemen do we have at any given play? 5. That's 10. We got one more person. That person is the quarterback. Here's my question to you. If those are the 11 people that you're going to have on the field, meaning Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Jameson Williams, Khalif Raymond, Jared Goff, and the linemen, why is this a suggestion that we're talking about now? Because guess who you don't have to pull off the field in this situation? You don't have to pull Sam Laporta off the field. You don't have to pull Brock Wright off the field. They're not playing. So especially when Sam Laporta went down, you should have seen more of these sets. 2 backs, 3 receivers. Especially when Brock Wright went down and Shane Zylstra and whoever else is in there is not getting a single target because Jared Goff has zero trust in any of them. He didn't even have trust in Brock Wright during a game that we lost. What game was that? Was it the Eagles game? Where Brock Wright was wide open underneath Amon-Ra St. Brown and he threw it over the top to Amon-Ra St. Brown, who was blanketed anyway, and we didn't score the touchdown. So he didn't even have trust in Brock Wright. So you don't have your starting tight end. Your main backup is also injured. Why is this a suggestion that maybe we could do? Dan Campbell said, our offense is better when we get everybody involved. Well, who's everybody, Dan? David Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs is everybody in the backfield. That's everybody from the running backs. Amon-Ra St. Brown, Jameson Williams, and Khalif Raymond is everybody in the receiving room. Who's everybody in the receiving room? Isaac Tesla? Tom Kennedy? I don't think so. Who's everybody in the running back room? Craig Reynolds, who no longer plays for the team? Jacob Sailors? Sione Vaki? No. Who's everybody? Everybody is those 5 guys right now. Those 5 guys right now is everybody. David Montgomery, Jahmyr Gibbs, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Jameson Williams, Khalif Raymond. Those are your everybody's. Those are your offensive weapons that you have at your disposal. The only one that you don't have at your disposal is Sam Laporta. And when you have a formation that you can run, and you can run different variations of this formation, it doesn't have to be, okay, you line up and both backs are flanked in the backfield. No. Guess what you can do? You can have 4 wide, and it will look like a 4 receiver set because you put Jahmyr Gibbs in one slot, you put Khalif Raymond in the other slot, you move Amon-Ra St. Brown out to the outside, and of course, J-Mo's on the outside. It doesn't always have to look the same. Jahmyr Gibbs running up the middle to the tune of 13 carries for 30 yards. This is the one thing that I'll say about this regime that is a negative, from the general manager to the head coach: stubbornness. Stubbornness. If you want to talk about Melvin, you probably throw in some other words in there like arrogance. Okay. Stubbornness. Running job the middle, 13 for 30. It ain't working. Running David Montgomery, 7 for 40. It's working. But let's go back to Ja. Just because. Because he's our starting running back. What happened to riding the hot hand? I told you, if you go over there to Chicago and you look at Usama's run scheme and the complexity and the blocking and all these things, I told you. Ben Johnson, Usama Ben Johnson, has DeAndre Swift looking like a good running back. No, he doesn't. Here's some stuff that's going to blow your mind. Y'all ready for this? I'm gonna get to your comments and then I'm gonna go deeper into this. Pause. Big pause. Y'all got a lot of comments. No, the rabbit hole in the TMNT and pizza Master Splinter wasn't the bad guy after all. Who thought Master Splinter was the bad guy? Crazy part is the Lions went 12-5 and 15-2 the past 2 seasons with David Montgomery's 1,800 yards on the ground. Big contributor, apparently. MCDC didn't look the same during the interview talking about Monty. It's been 3 years. Just play the man, sheesh. Facts. I'm okay with Monty getting the ball less. If Gibbs is lighting it up, then keep feeding the hot hand. But when you can't get the run game going and Monty is the hot hand, feed him the ball. It's not rocket science. It's not rocket science at all. I was just rewatching the game. Gibbs had 4 carries the first half, and Monty touched it 5 times, but Montgomery picked up more yards. And Montgomery had 2 more carries after that. And that's the problem. It's been 3 years, MCDC. Just give him the ball and stop looking uncomfortable in interviews. What up, though, Lisa? I'm at the point I hope they let Monty go to a team that will actually use him. It's beyond disrespectful at this point with the constant faith in these terrible ties, including Brock Wright. Brock Wright is injured. He's not playing. Numbers on the O. How often is Dan Skipper on the field to help block for Jared Goff if you're going to throw it? The jumbo formation is something that we have not done as much this year either. Melvin is just lining himself up to get fired. $18 million match for Brock was a joke and continuing to let these bum tees get snaps. You can't play Baki. He will get hurt. Facts. I won't say too much because Gibbs fanatics are lost in the sauce, but ATL uses Tyler Algier a bit too much, and we use Monty way too little. That is true. I meant to say this earlier. Something isn't working with the strength and conditioning team in Detroit. They are not hurt more than other teams. It just seems like the same units are always hurt. Well, I mean, last year it was the D-line and the linebackers. Fortunately, this year the linebackers have not dealt with anything, and hopefully they continue to not do that. The D-line hasn't really dealt with much. You had people coming back from injury, and then you had the obligatory Marcus Davenport injuries. So I wouldn't say that. I think the secondary getting decimated this year seems like they always get hurt because they're always trash. And you always have some backup in there because they're trash and they're hurt. So I think the secondary is probably the most concerning of the units when you're talking about consistently injured. I'm okay with Brad Holmes making mistakes. What I'm not okay with is him not recognizing those mistakes and act like everyone else don't know what they're talking about. Yeah, we're human. We make mistakes. It's, can you admit your mistakes? Can you admit when you're wrong? If you can't, then that's the problem. What up, the Tactical Sport? They should always go with the hot hand. They should. All right. DeAndre Swift never sniffed 1,000 yards in Detroit. Went to Philly, got 1,000 yards right off the bat. Went to Chicago, had more yards than when he was in Detroit. Now he's back with Usama Ben Johnson and looking like he probably could get 1,000 yards this season, even though he's splitting carries. DeAndre Swift never sucked. He was just always injured in Detroit because he didn't want to be here. You can see the talent that he has, and you can see the talent why he was made a second-round draft pick. This is the type of thing that I was talking about the other day when I said I'm tired of watching. Just yesterday when I asked you guys how many of our players are as dominant as they prop them up to be, because it's just always something with this team where it seems like even when you are being held up and propped up and put on a pedestal, there's just something that's making you not as great as other people. When we talked about Hutch being not as great as the upper echelon pass rushers in the league, what's the reason for that? Is it Hutch? Guess what? And this is what I was saying yesterday, Lisa, because I'm going back to this. And Mr. Detroit City gave me a layup. He said, Tyler Algier is used a little bit too much in Atlanta. I will say he's not used a little bit too much. I will say what they're doing is keeping Bijan fresh. Right? If you use Jahmyr Gibbs like you use Bijan, Jahmyr Gibbs has a 1,500-yard rushing season and about 600-700 yards passing, receiving. I believe that. This is what we're talking about. The usage of the backs. Usama Ben Johnson uses his two backs correctly. When DeAndre Swift was in Philly, they used him correctly. When Sonic and Knuckles were getting all of these records, setting all these records and things of that nature, who was their offensive coordinator? It was Usama Ben Johnson. Who was responsible for our running game? Because apparently it's supposed to be Hank Fraley having such a say. Now, I will admit this. There were some variables. Everything is not the same as it was when Usama Ben Johnson was here. We had an all-pro offensive line when Usama Ben Johnson was here. This is the first year that we haven't had that line because you took the big linchpin, Frank Ragnow, and removed him from the equation. Then you threw in a rookie on your left and a rookie on your right at the guard position. Then you threw in an injury to a nagging ankle injury to Penei Sewell and all types of injuries to Taylor Decker, which he's been dealing with for the last few years anyway. And you have an inconsistent offensive line that can't protect Jared Goff and who can't open holes in the run game. But here's where the adjustments have to be made. You can't open holes in the run game. Your weakest point of your offensive line is the interior. Why do you continue trying to run the ball up the middle with Jahmyr Gibbs? Here's how you go. Well, you know, if they do that, then when Jahmyr Gibbs is on the field, everybody knows that they're going to try to get him in space and run to the outside, and they're gonna guard the quarters. They're gonna guard the edges. Oh, when Monty's in, you just know he's gonna run up the middle. We spent the first half of this conversation talking about 2 backs, 3 receivers. This should be your base formation right now. For these next 3 games, your base formation should be 2 backs, 3 receivers. Because that's everybody that you need. It's everybody. If you want to get Tesla in the mix, you can swap him out with Khalif. Right? If you're talking about splitting, you know how they're trying to split carries. Well, split receptions, split reps with Khalif and Tesla. You keep talking about establishing the run, but there's been too many games where it's 3 yards in a cloud of dust, just up the middle. It's not just Monty who's going to wear you down. It's a healthy Penei Sewell who's going to wear you down, your defensive line. It's a Frank Ragnow who's going to wear you down on the defensive line. You don't have either one of those guys. So you are now square pegging, round holing. Because last year you had something. Last year you had something different. The year before that you had something different. All the times this year that you've managed to get Jahmyr Gibbs in space, he's killed the opposition. He's killed them. So much so that people are watching tape on Jahmyr Gibbs trying to figure out how to stop him. You're not about to beat us with Jahmyr Gibbs. You're going to have to use somebody else. That's what teams are saying to us. And we keep falling into their hands by sending Gibbs out one series, sending Monty out another series, sending Gibbs out for 2 series, sending Monty out for 1. And everybody's just going to run up the middle because we have to make it look the same. We can't show our hands. Both backs on the field solves all of this. Solves all of this. All right. Who's this? Hey, quick. What up, though? Yes, our corners are trash. JG about to get kicked to the curb, too, if he keeps yapping about us. I don't think so. Dwee better worry about not looking like a sorry sap week after week if he doesn't want criticism. The Bears invested in their O-line. Could be why Swifty's hitting the hole. Also, again, offensive line. Welcome to the WWE, y'all. MCDC will continue to play Gibbs and bench Monty because Vegas tells him so. That has to be the only reason at this point. Dan is not an idiot, but he will do what his boss tells him. Conspiracy theory, but Ben Johnson is a dweeb product of Patricia and Quinn. Don't forget, they got 10 wins in Chicago. We got 8. I'm just saying. I don't like the dude either, but their team's doing better than ours. Facts, just like Sonic 3 did really good in the box office, Lions did some good promo with that. Lions fans wanted to go after Morton first. Now MCDC still doing the same thing. Okay, so Mr. Detroit City, you're telling me play calling did not get worlds better when MCDC took over. There are some things that are frustrating, like this running up the middle. But how many smoke screens have you seen on 3rd and long, which is the only thing that Johnny Mo knew how to do? Oh, 3rd and long, let's throw a smoke screen. 3rd and 15, let's throw a smoke screen to J-Mo. Now it's 4th and 17. That's why we were so bad on 3rd down when he was calling plays. The play calling has gotten markedly better. What up, though? Ronan. He says the key is keeping both Demo and Gibbs on the field at the same time. Facts. With Skipper as the blocking tight end, with J-Mo and Amon-Ra St. Brown, that gives you 4 targets with dual run targets. Facts, man. I mean, no disagreements here. I think Dan is frustrated in these interviews because he knows what needs to be done, but isn't being allowed to. I don't know if it's Goodell specifically or what. We're going full conspiracy theory. Chilling. We ain't good, but we still good. As Syndicate said, we ain't good, we just okay. It goes back to the main book. All sports are ball, football. Oh my goodness. Goff may not look pretty doing it, but it's effective. He's not the problem. No. Sometimes he is, but if you protect him, he won't be. I got you. Have the people preoccupied with bread and circus. They got us all. Dan just needs to recognize that he needs to hire a better OC. Morton should be fired by January 5th. I don't even know what Morton's doing. Like, bro, Barry Sanders was untouchable, bro, and never won a championship. Think about it for a second. Ain't no way, bro. Best running back in the league. All right. So, you know what we do on this show, boy. We flow, boy. But before we flow, boy, we got to check in on your mailbag. What you want to do? What you want to do when they reading you? Snick, mailbag. Get your mailbag questions in. Get them in. Bask in it. We'll do an extended mailbag situation here. All y'all got to do is have questions, and we will answer them. We got about 10 minutes left. So let's get these mailbag questions in and see if we can get some stuff going here. The Ronin, I almost didn't read your first comment because it looked your profile picture looked like independent Aquaman, and I'm done with that guy. So, and that was not a catch by the tight end. What the heck is New York looking at? And no, it wasn't a catch. It wasn't a catch at all. Mailbag. Who do you think gonna get a Super Bowl first? Lions or Browns? Lions. The Browns are there's too much dysfunction. And there's no Jimmy Haslam is part of it. So when your owner is part of the dysfunction, remember William Clay Ford, right? When your owner is part of the dysfunction, you can't win anything. Just you can't. Mailbag, what was Goodell doing on that Egyptian plane? I don't know. Going to Egypt. Mailbag, if we miss the playoffs this year, would you fire Melvin? I would fire Melvin because I don't have faith in his ability to learn that he has to be humble. And I don't have faith in that ability because he's the type to keep receipts and go after reporters without actually having won something. But I don't believe that he'll be fired because then you have to give him an opportunity to learn from his mistakes. He is a first-time GM, but it's his personality, it's the arrogance, it's the thinking he knows more than everyone. And again, I'm not going to call him smartest guy in the room. That's reserved for Bob Quinn. But thinking that his way is the only way, and it's a collaborative approach. But when you insulate yourself with people that think the same way as you, then the collaboration means nothing. And then also, what is the collaborative approach of their drafting situation? Because if Dan likes a guy, Chris Spillman likes a guy, this scout likes a guy, that coach likes a guy, and so on and so forth, well, who gets the final say? Brad Holmes. You can't convince me that everyone wanted Broderick Martin. You can't convince me that everyone wanted Broderick Martin. Now, what you can convince me of, and what I was convinced of yesterday, because I'm gullible, was that Melvin only drafted Hendon Hooker to shut up the fans who were golf phobic. I was supposed to believe that. Yesterday, someone told me to believe that. And I'm going to tell you, I'm just that gullible that I'll believe it for you. But yeah, he's going to get another opportunity. I wouldn't give him one, but that's just me. With Candace. Mailbag, while fans are still deciding who to blame for the Lions' loss to Matt Stafford and the Rams, who is going to tackle the Steelers tight end Darnell Washington when Aaron Rodgers hits him in the flat? Well, it won't be Hallett, who was claimed by the Tennessee Titans. I mean, when the Tennessee Titans are trolling you, like, what are you doing, guys? What are you guys doing? What are you doing? I don't understand that. What do you do? You tanking? Okay. I don't know. Mailbag, what is New York looking at on these replays when you can find vids everywhere that show their errors? That's and that's when you get into the conspiracy of rigging games and things of that nature, because it's just a lot of the stuff didn't make sense. If it was a catch, I didn't mind them calling it a touchdown because they were going to score anyway. You weren't going to stop them from the 1 yard line. You couldn't stop them from their own 1 yard line to get to yours. So I had no confidence in the defense that game whatsoever. So I was fine with it being called a touchdown. But then when you look at the fact that he didn't catch it, that's pretty bad. That could have altered the game possibly. But giving it to him as a touchdown instead of on the 1 yard line wouldn't have changed anything. It would just taken him one more play to score. Mailbag, what is your prediction for the next 3 games? I don't know. It honestly depends on who shows up. It depends on who shows up for the Detroit Lions. It depends on who shows up for the coaching staff. Dan Campbell coached a phenomenal first quarter, second quarter, and fourth quarter. It was great. These 3 quarters. But one error, and this is what I said, one error. Jahmyr Gibbs runs the ball on first down, gets 5 yards. Runs the ball on second down, gets 5 more yards or 6 or 7, whatever it was, picks up the first down. Oh no, it comes back. It's holding. Now it's 2nd and 15. Dan Campbell decides to run the football directly up the middle, and your game was lost at that point because it was a shootout. And you can't give away possessions like that, and that's what he did. So are we talented enough to beat these last 3 teams? Yeah, to some degree. I mean, we're just really missing a secondary. We're supposed to have all this talent on the defensive line because we're good. Our linebackers, you can't find 3 better linebackers put together in the NFL, right? So we've got a front 7. Can we get to Aaron Rodgers? I don't know. Can we get to Caleb Williams? Well, we can get to him, but the thing about getting to Caleb Williams is, can you get him on the ground? Can you protect Jared Goff against Brian Flores and his crazy blitzes? So I don't really have I don't have a prediction right now. It's just got to be week to week. Who's available? Who do I think is going to show up? What's the vibe been? I said that if you beat the Rams, you had one more opportunity. That was your opportunity to show that you're a Super Bowl contender. So that now you've showed that you're not a Super Bowl contender. Who really cares about the next 3 games? You're going to make it to the playoffs if you win out and other people lose. Okay. So I don't know. Mailbag. Kirby Joseph is out, apparently. That could suggest Aaron Rodgers is going to run DK Metcalf on a deep post. Who makes a play in the Lions secondary? When you find the person who's going to make that play, you let me know, because I don't. Did you see what DK Metcalf did to that dude and the Dolphin safety? Mm-hmm. Yeah. We ain't got nothing but little boys. Candace Owens. What is really hurting is our 2 top CB draftees are hurt. Essentially, our entire starting backfield. I will say half of what you said is true. I don't know who or what Ennis Rakestraw is. And I refuse to look. I was told that I needed to let people be happy and who pissed in my Cheerios and all this other stuff when I told people that they need to pump the brakes on Ahmed Hassani. There was a tweet that when they found out he was coming back, somebody came in and was like, oh, can he play this week? Absolutely delusional. The dude hasn't played. He has no stats. He was drafted in the 6th round. I said I didn't have any expectations for Ahmed Hassani. People thought I was being a hater. And guess what? As Chopper Young City said, get what? Get what? Looks like I was right. So I don't even mention Ennis Rakestraw as anything. If he can stay on the field at some point, if he can get on the field and then stay on it, because he hasn't been able to do those things, then we can revisit what his impact of not playing this season did, if anything at all. Mailbag, we drafted Hooker for future trade bait like Jimmy G, and if we fired Melvin, who do you think should be the GM? I have no clue who should be the backup GM, or not the backup GM. Who should be the new GM? I don't know. Someone suggested Ray Agnew the other day, and I'm like, Ray Agnew agrees with everything that Brad Holmes does, at least outwardly. So I wouldn't. Both of those guys were played on the defensive line. One of them played in the NFL, the other one didn't. He played in college. And both of y'all can come to the conclusion that the only position that matters on the defensive line is defensive tackle. Okay, cool. But I don't know who should be the GM. I would say someone who is the understudy of Howie Roseman, or someone who's truly the understudy of Les Snead, because it seems like our guy was an understudy of Les Snead and couldn't wait to do things exactly his way once he got from under his shadow. So someone who's going to try to be who their predecessor is because they realize how successful they are. The New York calls are actually called in from overseas. All right, I'm going to do a few more mailbags, and then I'm going to head on out. Mailbag, Steelers wide receiver Roman Wilson went to Michigan, probably got family coming to Ford Field for the game. I think Aaron Rodgers is going to try to find him for 6. Your thoughts? How many catches does he have this season? I don't think it's a lot. So I would say no. Yeah, I got that part. We took a shot at Hooker as a backup. Didn't pan out. Well, that's not what I was told yesterday. That's not what I was told yesterday at all. I was told he was drafted to shut up the golf phobics. I think these 3 games are a marker for this regime, to be honest. A part of me doesn't want them to make the playoffs because I want to see what Brad does. And then you have to hold his feet to the fire. So, again, even if we win these 3 games, we're not guaranteed the playoffs. So do what you got to do. What are you going to do in the draft? Trade up in the first round to draft a wide receiver? I don't know. Whatever it is, Brad. Never in history was a backup hooker ever worked out. I'm pretty sure it has worked out. You got your main one, and then you got a backup one. I'm pretty sure it's worked out before. I still think we went out, get in, then go Lambeau wild card. So the problem is us winning out doesn't get us in. That's the problem. We can't control our own destiny anymore. That ship has sailed. The SS Destiny, it sailed. We couldn't get on it. Mm-hmm. Main mailbag. Would you sign Judon? Why not? We wanted to sign him before. Someone like freaking Tennessee will probably put in a waiver claim for him. Y'all want to win the next three, just get put out in the first round. Yeah, I just the playoffs this year is not it's not something I care about anymore because I don't have confidence in this team. They've let me down this year. Mailbag, you've been called golf phobic and a casual this season. How do you rally the troops to execute on the field and sneak into the playoffs? Again, the only thing you can do is understand that if you want to go to the playoffs, you got to win and pray. That's it. That's all you got. It's the only thing you got. We don't get backfield penetration on our blitz with sure-handed tackling. We something's got to change with the defense. It's either the personnel or the coordinators. That's it. Like, and I would lean more towards it being the personnel, especially what we have now. I mean, with Kirby being out and Brian Branch being out, those are huge blows to our team, huge blows to our defense. So, I bought a Davenport jersey at the start of the season, but it never showed up. Mailbag, was Ahmed a middle finger by Melvin to the fans? I don't know. 6th round. I don't know. Y'all been on my ass. I don't know. 6th round. Was that good enough? I don't know. Ahmed Hassani has as many sacks as Matthew Judon. Really? Matthew Judon has no sacks this season? Ahmed believes and follows Christ, so they won't play him. That's not why they won't play him. Agnew will be gone this offseason to another job. I mean, they could. I mean, that's a win-win for us because we need both of those teams to lose. So I don't know, whoever wins or whatever. You know, if we make the playoffs, Brad is just going to be arrogant and say, well, we've made the playoffs for 3 years in a row. Yeah, so that's kind of why I'm looking like don't even want to make the playoffs. Thanks. If somebody told you that about Hooker, then they lied. Everyone's spazzing over our lack of a backup QB. I think the end of the season will have lots of unplanned losses. No, I was just being facetious. There was this really arrogant fan. He goes by the name as Independent Aquaman, and he thinks he knows everything. And he's the biggest golf slappy in the fan base. He's called me a casual and golf phobic before. Yet he still comes and, patronizes my content, which is weird, right? But Yeah, he told me yesterday that Brad only drafted Hendon Hooker to shut up the golf phobics. So yeah. San Fran is pretty much locked into the 6. Now if they lose out, which they probably will not do. All right, y'all. I appreciate y'all once again for stopping by, coming through, hanging out for a drinking conversation. What's tomorrow? Yeah. Tomorrow's Thursday, right? So I won't be here. But I'll be back on Friday to give you the breakdown and the prediction of what needs to happen for the Detroit Lions to win. And it is what it is. It's whatever. You know what I'm saying? It's whatever. Exactly, and why they will beat Lil Ben's butt. Kyle is a real coach, and he will remind everyone that Little Benny sits at the kid table. When you don't like somebody, you don't give them no props, huh? All right. Once again, the Motor City Cats R&D back at it. We came to give you stats and not none of that static. Whatever you do, make sure you keep your Lions news pragmatic. And we are out. Peace. Appreciate you all.